What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today, we're talking the latest episode of WWE The Day Of, focusing on Backlash 2020. So good to see The Day Of back after a few months, for obvious reasons, of course, given the current circumstances. We have not had an episode since the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view back in March. So unfortunately, they couldn't do one for WrestleMania, which would have been cool. But of course, again, given the current circumstances, I get it. The Money in the Bank pay-per-view back in May. But the Backlash show was about a month ago. We had the Day of return for that. And as opposed to focusing on, everything going on behind the scenes and the aftermath of a few different people, we actually only had one singular story on this episode, and that was Edge going into his greatest wrestling match ever, as WWE called it, against Randy Orton in the night's main event. I'm not sure if that's how the show used to be structured. I don't remember from a few years ago, but it was cool to see the episode revolve around one certain superstar. And again, the old format was cool too, to see what was going on behind the scenes with certain superstars and whatever. But again, given the current circumstances, it wouldn't be as engaging as it once was with the old format the show used to follow. So I thought this one was very, very cool, because obviously this was the most talked about match, for obvious reasons, at Backlash, with it being the quote-unquote greatest wrestling match ever between Edge and Randy Orton. And not was it just focusing on the main event, but specifically Edge and his journey back to the ring, wrestling his first real wrestling match, as he called it, in almost a decade. So the episode starts off as we see Edge walking into the building wearing a mask. I think I had seen that footage before. I think they put that up on the WWE YouTube channel, like the day of, no pun intended, of the pay-per-view or the day later or whatever on their channel. Because I remember him speaking to, what's his name, Michael P.S. Hayes, and I think Hayes was wearing a mask too. I don't know if that was before or after they incorporated the must-wear mask policy, whatever. But they show Edge walking into the building wearing a mask, a Nightmare Before Christmas mask to be specific, as influenced by his kids, which was cool. But he says that he wants fans to see this journey back to the ring for him as a love letter to wrestling, to show why he came back, why he does what he does, what motivates him to go in there and have the greatest wrestling match of all time and live up to the hype. We see him say you have to find things that you can bite into when it comes to, taking things that he may not really have any control over and making the most out of it. We see him joking with Samoa Joe ringside, which was funny. And then again, he admits that he has not been a part of a real wrestling match in almost 10 years, since 2011. I think his last one on TV, anyway, would have been the one with Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship. Prior to Backlash, he was involved, of course, in the Royal Rumble match and the WrestleMania Last Man Standing match, but both were gimmick matches. Both were the first one was a multi-man match. The second one wasn't really a wrestling match. It was a Last Man Standing match, which was, it's a match, but doesn't really involve much in the way of wrestling. He talked about how WrestleMania 36, that Last Man Standing match, needed to be a fight, but Backlash is the total opposite. And he talks about all the elements going into the match that are going to make the match special, all the old school setup elements in regards to Charles Robinson, who we see stop into Edge's locker room, dressing room, whatever, with his old school referee outfit, which was cool. Edge talks about the MSG microphone, labeling, whatever. He talks about Howard Finkel and how important he was to his career. And he says you can't have the greatest wrestling match ever without Howard Finkel. And of course, the Fink passed away back in April, I want to say. I think it was the same week that all those WWE releases happened, and it was a pretty terrible week for wrestling fans. But so they dubbed in Howard Finkel's commentary, and of course, he's announced both Orton and Edge before, so that's how they did it. Edge talked about how they're trying out new lighting and camera angles for the matchup, and if it doesn't work, fine, but if they do work, specifically with the camera angles, it gives them new stuff to work with in the future. And the cool thing about that is that they did try new camera angles. I don't know if we've seen them incorporated into WWE, television since then. Maybe they're just reserving it for bigger matches. I don't know. I guess we'll find out the night of the pay-per-view. But it feels like with Kevin Dunn's production and everything else in charge, with Vince in charge and whatever, not much changes in the way of production with WWE. Yeah, they went HD back in 2008. But aside from that and making things bigger and better, blah, 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 which is cool, but in terms of how things are shot, the camera angles, the overall vibe of the show really has not changed in a long time. And a lot of people will blame Kevin Dunn, the production team, whatever. There are a lot of things they do right, but there are a lot of things they do wrong as well. So if they can change that, try out some new things, all the better. That's even better. So anyway, so we see Edge getting ready backstage before he goes out for the match. He talks about how he needs to have that roar of the crowd. And that's probably why they, amped in that fake audio with the fake crowd. And it's not a real crowd. It's not the same thing, of course, but it's better than nothing. And the PC recruits, the NXT superstars, whatever you want to call them, they do help. Having an audience there was crucial, and Edge says that multiple times to Abyss backstage. Yeah, fucking Abyss. Chris Park is on this episode. We don't see him. You do hear him. He's been working as a producer, backstage producer for WWE for about 2.5 years now, I think. So that was pretty funny. But anyway, so yeah, he talks about how crucial the crowd was to this match, and I completely agree. Not having a crowd there, to me, it immediately disqualifies it as being the greatest wrestling match ever, but they made the most of a bad situation. The fans, quote-unquote, in attendance, helped the atmosphere. And the fake audio, say what you will about it, I didn't really mind it. I could see what they were going for. I understood it. But anyway, so they recap the match and everything that happened, and Orton winning after punting Edge in the head for the victory. We see that conversation backstage between Edge and Abyss, a.k.a. Chris Park. And again, he reiterates multiple times having that audience made a big difference. And he even says that he even says as much on the phone with his wife Beth Phoenix on the phone afterward, saying to her how he felt great out there and he's not phoning it in. Literally here he is, but like in the match, he talks about to Beth over the phone about how he wasn't phoning it in. They went about 54 minutes. And you could tell that he was really happy with his performance, as he should have. The match at WrestleMania wasn't exactly my cup of tea. I liked it. Could have been way better. I love this match a lot more, in my opinion. The last man standing matches can work in certain environments. It did not work at WrestleMania with the story they were trying to tell. I thought it was fine, but could have been a lot better. The Backlash bout, in my opinion, was infinitely better. I thought it was just great. But he does joke at one point, coming off the match, that he thought he tore his triceps, and he's like, oh, it feels weird, and I'm just in pain, and blah, blah, blah. And of course, he's still feeding off that adrenaline, so he probably doesn't realize he's hurt until much later on. And he even says to someone backstage, there is no such thing as the greatest wrestling match ever. Today, my favorite match might be, I forgot what he said exactly, but, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker from WrestleMania 25, or Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage from WrestleMania 3, or Andre the Giant versus Stan Hansen. That was actually a match that he had used specifically as an example. And he's right. He said that in interviews going into the pay-per-view about how, it's really all a matter of just what day is it, what could be his favorite match today might not be his favorite match tomorrow. And it's all a matter of personal taste, and I completely agree with what he had to say here. In the most random cameo I've ever seen in one of these Day Of episodes, we see Hornswoggle, yes, former WWE Cruiserweight Champion, backstage, greeting Edge, which was funny. Edge and Christian just, playing around with Hornswoggle backstage, which, again, completely random. I don't know why Hornswoggle was there. I don't know if he was there to film something. We're in the middle of a fucking pandemic right now, so it's not like, oh, they were in the area. They were in Wisconsin. That's why they, had Hornswoggle on the episode. Nope, they were still downstate. They were still down in Florida at the PC. So unless he lives there, which I don't think he does, I thought that was incredibly random. But that's now 2 back-to-back Hornswoggle mentions on WWE shows. Between this, and then he was also mentioned by R-Truth on the R-Truth game show, which I reviewed yesterday here on the channel as well. So if that means we're getting a Hornswoggle return in the near future, just don't be surprised. But in all seriousness, he talks about how he's getting an MRI the next day. I was going to say Monday, but this actually wasn't filmed when the pay-per-view happened on Sunday, June 14th. I think it was actually recorded about like a week earlier, a couple of days earlier. So he says, oh yeah, I'm going to go in for an MRI tomorrow and see what the deal is with the triceps. And that's when he finds out, yeah, your triceps is indeed torn, dude, unfortunately. And he wasn't like crying in pain about it. And again, it might have been an adrenaline thing. I don't know. But he wasn't like, oh man, it really, really hurts. Like he didn't know for a fact that it was hurt. He just thought it might have been hurt because of how it felt after he took a certain move. I think it was off an RKO, he said. So anyway, he's out for a while. They don't say that here, but they did say it in the WWE.com update the next day after the pay-per-view. And then they play his promo from Raw. I think it was either the next night or like 8 days later. I don't remember, but Edge cut that great promo. He was sitting there in the middle of a ring talking about his road to recovery. He will be back. He vows to return, and I'm sure he will be. I mean, people are saying, oh, he won't come back. I mean, if he came back from a fucking, with all the neck issues and everything else after 9 years, I'm sure he will come back from a torn triceps, even if it takes 6 to 8 months. It may not be until 2021 that we see the Rated R Superstar again on WWE TV, but I'm pretty confident that he will be back at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future, but that's what it's looking like right now. But anyway, I thought this was a great episode of WWE The Day Of. Definitely a different format, but for the better. The old format was cool too, but with this type of format, you kind of focus on one superstar and what their journey is, what their story is going into the show, their thoughts on the match coming out of it. A lot of cool behind-the-scenes stuff from this Backlash pay-per-view specifically, the Edge and Orton match, which was cool, which was great. We haven't really seen much footage like this filmed with the whole pandemic going on, and I don't really know if they filmed many chronicles and stuff like that. They have with Jeff Hardy, but other than that, I mean, they really haven't filmed this type of content in some time. So it was cool to see the show return. It was a good episode. I'm looking forward to hopefully the next one on Extreme Rules tonight. I'm assuming they are filming one tonight. But yeah, check this out right now on the WWE Network. It's about 14 minutes in length. Very, very short. Kind of a bit on the shorter side compared to other episodes, but it's still well worth checking out. And thank you guys for checking out these videos. As always, you can check out more reviews that I have of WWE The Day Of right here in the channel in the description box down below. More WWE Network and chill. Speaking of which, a new episode should be going up either on, I think probably Friday, because tomorrow is a new MCU Rewatch review series episode, and then Tuesday is Raw Talk. But Friday I should be breaking down the new Undertaker The Last Ride episode, Tales from the Dead Man, that went up actually today on the network. I actually just got done watching it earlier, and it was a very good 20-minute special. I should be reviewing that for Friday here on the channel, so stay tuned for more on that. That should be dropping then. That was very good. This was good. The R-Truth Game Show special was good. There's a lot of cool content going up right now on the WWE Network, so check it all out. Check out all my other content here on the channel, including #AskGSM, WrestleRant Radio excerpts, MCU Rewatch Review Series, and much, much more. Until next time, guys, enjoy the pay-per-view tonight. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.